whole thing, the whole guacamole, right? So I'm gonna take the next minutes explaining and going through what we do as HPE Aruba networking with our main platform that is called Aruba ESP. And I have 3 bags full of toys in there. So we're gonna wait for questions because I've seen that you like to make good questions. So stay tuned for the content and ask good questions. So it's all about getting the knowledge, then we can replicate that. And the most important part is to enjoy it, okay? Let's enjoy this. Okay, so in the screens you can see right now that we have HPE Aruba Networking ESP. ESP stands for Edge Services Platform, right? Well, you know about the Edge already. We've been talking about that. We need it. It's there. It's not gonna go anywhere. It's where the things happen, where the action is taking place, where the people and the devices are connected, etc., etc. You need that in order to provide all of the services from the hybrid cloud. Perfect. How can we take over the edge and help our customers with a platform that is going to connect, protect, enable everything that is happening in the edge, right? So let's see. When we designed Aruba ESP as the whole architecture, we thought about it thinking on the IT operator, the person that it's running and it's like taking care of printers and computers and access, etc., etc. So have you heard the complaint about a user coming to your desktop or to your office and saying, hey, the Wi-Fi doesn't work. No, that's the Wi-Fi, it doesn't work. And then you say, no, we're gonna check on that, etc., etc. And then you spend like minutes and hours checking what is wrong with it, and then you realize that maybe this is a little bit technical, but maybe you realize that it is a DHCP server that doesn't have any IPs to bring to the devices in the network anymore. So the Wi-Fi wasn't the problem. It was a service in the network that was not working, and it is a part of the workflow. So we said, okay, it is kind of complex to say what is working and what is not. You need to handle so many things in the environment. You need to control the Wi-Fi, the switches, the access, the credentials, the authentication, the servers, and the whole thing. So in the first place, we thought about this person, like with many hands, trying to cover so many problems. And then we created ESP as a whole architecture, a whole platform. And we center Aruba Central as in the middle of it to handle and to manage the whole thing. So we're trying to unify and simplify things for the IT managers because the network is there, the network is not going anywhere. We want to automate and secure the workflows. So if there is one activity that is taking place every time something happens, why not automate it, right? Right now, everybody's talking about ChatGPT, whatever GPT, Bard, go from Google, Microsoft, the artificial intelligence, blah, blah, blah. But the whole idea behind that, it's not to replace our jobs or to replace our minds or lives or whatever conspiracy theory is behind it. It's about using those technologies in order to help us to do all of those repetitive actions and automate them, okay? So again, if you have a network and that network is having some kind of problem and you take care of that problem every time the same way, then right now you can automate it, okay? So basically if you get a problem, you create the condition is triggered, then you set the action and you fix the problem. If it happens 10 times in a day, then it will be fixed 10 times in a day, okay? So the beautiful part of all this is also to have an idea or a way to consume this kind of new, innovative way of doing networking at the edge as a service. And right now, I want to point that out, and if you want, write it down. InfoChange is a partner with experience. InfoChange is a partner with the history. They know the pains, and they're certified, and they are here. So we enable all these products, solutions, software, services, blah, blah, blah. But there is somebody that needs to put them into place, that need to understand the workflow of every one of your customers. And then once everything is in place and working out, then what is going to happen with the support? If you have any kind of problems, you can somehow have the local solution in here and to visit and to fix it for you, okay? And we have the whole thing backing that up. Tax services, support, RMA, et cetera, et cetera. But the whole thing is that you might now have an option to consume it as a service. So you can dedicate to something else, like what is happening with your business? What do you see yourself in 3 years? There is a new owner of the company, and he wants us to be the leader in agriculture, whatever vertical you're working, in 3 years. So am I going to do that by taking care of all of the problems on the network all the time? It's not going to happen. So we built Aruba ESP from the ground by using all of our experience that we have been accumulating for more than 2 decades. We were founded in 2002 as Aruba Networks. And by the way, I don't know if you know, but Aruba Networks, the name comes from the Caribbean. You know, there is an island called Aruba, right? Aruba, from the ABC, Aruba, the island. So when the founder of the company and the co-founder, they were like, hey, guy, you know, we have this initiative of creating a new company that is going to provide Wi-Fi in the beginning. It was basically for Wi-Fi for mobility, but we want the Wi-Fi to be done in the right way. We want the Wi-Fi to work. We want the Wi-Fi and all of the roles and the condition of the connectivity to follow up the user and the device, whatever it was. So they were like, okay, we have the idea. We don't want to encarcerate anybody into this solution. We want this to be open, to be integratable. That is in our core belief since the beginning. How do we name it? What should we do? And then they had that idea of having the customer feeling, you know, nice, no problem, feeling good, and feeling that everything was going to be all right. And they were listening to the Kokomo song by Beach Boys, the one that says, Aruba, Jamaican, da, 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 Bermuda, da, da, da. So they didn't name it Jamaican Networks because it started with a J, and they wanted to appear in a search in the first later, so they picked Aruba, and that is the origin of the name. So basically, that was our foundation, thinking about the customer, you know, from 20 years ago, and that hasn't changed along the way. So we went with organic and inorganic growth, acquiring companies, making them part of our core belief, till now where we have everything integrated into one platform and going beyond, and having that integration every time going and going. So we have nowadays network access control, we have location services. We just acquired Axis Security for this SSE. Do you remember? The component of SASE, which he knows very well. SASE is SD1 plus SSE. We didn't have SSE like 6 months ago, right? And now we have the SSE. We even bought another company that is called Athonet. And Athonet is a provider of private 5G. Okay? So with private 5G, we're going to be able to deliver an experience to the customers via a big campus with 5G as well. And that is going to be part of the customer, not a public mobile network anymore. So Aruba ISP covers many, many components about it. It's going to say it way better than I can do it. So I want you all to see it for 2 minutes. Go ahead. Do you have audio? It doesn't have audio. So basically for those, we focus on what is happening with the users and the devices on the network, right? So we try to unify the infrastructure for every one of the environments. What I mean is that for access points, all of them behave the same way. For switching, all of them behave the same way. And for SD1 and the rest, everything needs to behave the same way. Because we want to enable our customers to achieve their goals, and we need them to have a good TCO on their property. So every time you acquire one of these solutions, we try to squeeze all of the value from it. We're not thinking about you learning something for the smaller sites, something different for the medium sites, and something different for the enterprise. Everything works and acts the same way. So for the access points, it's pretty simple. The access point for us is not a Wi-Fi access point. It's a wireless access point. So it means that it has the Wi-Fi radio. Right now, our whole line supports the Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E, which is an extended version of the Wi-Fi 6 protocol right now. But besides that, we also have a ZigBee radio for connecting IoT, sensors for many, many options. There are like hundreds and hundreds of sensors. You can have like proximity, flooding, contact. You can have temperature, a thermostat. There are so many things that you can connect via ZigBee, and ZigBee is somehow secure. You can identify it, transport it securely to where the server for those sensors are. We do the same thing with Bluetooth 5. Some of you have come into the booth and they've seen like a couple of small devices that we have, and those are devices for helping with the location services. I have one access point that can act as a wireless platform doing IoT, and then I can connect almost everything to it in order to avoid or deploy any kind of overlay network on top of that, right? Because it has a big impact in the cost. Let's say, go to a hotel again. You go into a hotel, and then in the hotel, you have the Wi-Fi, and you have all of the Bluetooth and the ZigBee network, everything deployed in only one device. If they want to deploy smart locks to control the doors and to give you a mobile key, they can do it. And the smart locks are going to work with ZigBee, and you don't need to deploy a new network in order to provide that. Okay? If you want to do the same thing with the thermostat, the presence analysis, and all of that can use the same access point as a platform. And you can see it in here. We can deploy like almost everything. So we have different radios that are there actively working. And if we don't have something, we have a USB port so you can place a gateway in there. And that's it. So all of the use cases are covered. Okay? So beyond that, we have a model for every one of the use cases that you can have in your environment. Access point for small environments, medium, high, very high, crazy high, right? Thousands of devices connected to a single AP, if that makes sense. It makes sense, of course, for an environment like this. This is a big conference center, so we can have, how many people do we have here? 70? 80? That's not that big. Try to go into a stadium with 80,000 people connecting there. So you have to divide the place by areas and try to give the same experience to everyone. That's a crazy stuff. So we have to design for every one of the use cases. We have an access point as well for the micro branch or remote branch or the hospitality environment, which is the one that I have in my booth. Those guys, they can be installed into a desktop mounting kit, also in the wall plate. It has wire ports for delivering wire services. It's an amazing product. We have also devices for different environments. The previous one that I just mentioned, those are indoor. Without mentioning that we also have the new series, the 6E, which is not yet approved for Jamaica, according to what I know, the next spectrum for increasing the spectrum on Wi-Fi. According to what I know, the last news that I know, it's not approved for Jamaica yet. There are some countries talking about it, but it's not yet approved. Once it is approved, there is more spectrum that you can use in order to provide more bandwidth, more applications. That's going to be awesome, but it needs to go through the regulations. And for the outdoor environment, we have devices in the same idea. Medium, high, crazy high density for connecting people in the beach, in the park lot, in environments where they are exposed into temperature, humidity, dust, and whatever. So we don't have a problem regarding the Wi-Fi and regarding where to cover and try to connect the people and the devices, and also connecting the IoT environments that needs to be deployed in those places. Now let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go and talk about the switches. What happened with the switches? Same idea, same goal. All of the switches from the access layer, all the way to the data center, top of the rack, end of the row, crazy amounts of performance. All of them behave the same thing. They use an operative system that is built for that. So we want you to learn, according to the standards in the industry, only one operative system. And your knowledge is going to be applicable from the access all the way into the data center. All of these devices, they are smart, of course. They have really advanced features like, let's say, always on PoE. Does anybody know what is always on PoE? No, beyond the name. We need coffee over there. So let's talk about, maybe some of you have an environment where you have IP phones or video surveillance cameras. If you need to update a switch because you're applying a new patch, a security patch, and you need to update it, and the switch reboots, the switch is going to go down, it's going to power off, all of the ports are going to be off, and then all of the devices connected to those ports are going to be off for minutes. Then the switch reboots, and then it's going to provide PoE again, and then all of the cameras and all the phones and the whole thing are going to start booting up. And then obviously there are going to be problems at the moment. So with always on PoE, we have a function where we separate all of those processes. And if we need to renew or to refresh the kernel of the switch, we do it on the kernel only. It doesn't have to do anything with the rest of the PoE functions. So I can reboot the kernel, I can restart the services, and the PoE is going to be still on. Is that sexy? Is that good? What do you think about it? Right? Amazing, huh? So regarding that, we can do many, many things with the switches, because when we built those, we created the operative system and the hardware thinking about embedding cloud functions like natively in the switch. And cloud doesn't mean that the switch is going to depend mandatory of the cloud. It doesn't have to do anything with that. It's basically enabling the flexibility, the modularity, and the programmability, etc., in the switch. So the switch per se has all of the ports, but everything that is regulated and working in those, it's using something that we call microservices. So the PoE is handled by a microservice. It's a daemon in the kernel. Then the VLANs is handled by something else, and so on, so on, so on. So every time I'm gonna update and do any kind of changes in those, then it's going to be a micro change. Got it? So what happens if I want to go back in time and see what happens? Hey, there is a problem. We don't know what happened at 2 a.m. We can have a database based on time that is gonna show you. It's gonna show us what happened at that moment. I'm gonna go in there in a bit. But the thing is that beyond modularity and programmability, with resiliency, and having these switches being so elastic that you can deploy them in between the access and the data center, we have almost everything there. We just need to add more intelligence on top of it and listen to the telemetry. If you can see in the switch, the second square, like over here, see, I can point that out, right? Over here, it says Aruba Network Analytics Engine. So almost all of the switches have this engine that is collecting telemetry from the network. What is happening at what time, with which parameters, etc., etc. So we can listen to that telemetry in a more holistic platform, which is Aruba ESP, Aruba Central, and then we can take actions regarding it. And I'm going to show you right now. So what happened with the data center and talking with our friends in the room, doing storage, doing smart replication, doing encryption, doing all of those workflows, we have created something that is unique in the market, and that is the CX10000 switch in a collaboration with Pensando. Pensando is a company that they do software, and what we did is that we deployed the whole ASICs and memory and the whole thing in the switch, and we came up with this. So the CX10000 is a switch that is enabling distributed power on the edge. So you can take actions in the edge, right? So the traffic that is coming from the campus, there is a user connecting to the AP to switch to distribution, blah, 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 all the way in the south to north traffic, coming that traffic over there. it arrives into this switch in the data center, and it doesn't have to go away from the data center in order to be cleaned out. So if I want to apply firewall rules in it, I can do it. If I want to do nothing, IPsec, if I want to do the DOS, I can do it in this very same switch, right? So it has really low latency because this switch is also designed for east to west traffic. So all of the traffic that is coming from one virtual machine in a storage unit from ABC vendor into all the way the other machine, that is the traffic that moves left to right or east to west. And that traffic needs, low latency. So we can do a lot of stuff with this switch, but the beautiful part of it is that we also have a software, a piece of software that is called Aruba Fabric Composer, that what it does is that it grabs all of the resources of that switch from the other switch that is in the data center, from the switch that is in the distributed field, aggregating, doing a lot of stuff, all of those series, and I can use them in order to integrate those into the storage, compute, core, hybrid cloud environments. Is that sexy? Yes or no? I want to hear it. I want to hear it. There you are. So what happens in there is that if I have Nutanix, if I have Simplicity solution, if I have any other solution, if I have VMware, you can create in those environments like a workflow to create virtual machines, to use virtual stacks, or to create any kind of orchestration, like creating a new customer, like starting the new customer inside my platform to sell, I don't know, credit cards. That is going to be done by this workflow, double click, and that's going to start automating and communicating with everything in the core side, in the switch side, et cetera, et cetera. So we can have orchestration and automation. We can provide the creation of the virtual machines and all of those workflows in minutes because everything is going to be automated. It doesn't come, out of the box. You have to somehow program it. You need to do your work, right? Because it needs to adapt to what you're doing. And at the end, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you tools for you to reach your goals in the virtualization way, in the Hyper-V, in the Amazon cloud, whatever you're going to place it, you need to use this Fabric Composer in order to enable all of the resources from the switches to the virtualization environment, okay? So let's just think about what happens on the automate level, okay? When we get everything already connected and protected, as I mentioned to you before, using SD-WAN, NAC, switching, et cetera, what happens in here is that, as you've been hearing today, almost all of the data nowadays is being generated. The main source is the edge, right? So we've been collecting metadata about the edge, telemetry, for years. And again, I just want to disclose, it's not private, non-personal information. It's not nothing about the users. It's everything about the environment, the context. The MAC address A is connecting at this timestamp, this amount of power, blah, blah, blah. There is a configuration saying this, and that. So we know we have a big amount of data lakes, so we can work with all of the data from that, right? We can get insight and give you recommendations about what is happening. So we've been deployed across many industries. We have millions of endpoints that we are being managed and are being managing in the network. We have so many configurations and we know what goes well and what doesn't. So we are using artificial intelligence for all of that. But how do we use artificial intelligence? That sounds like a black box. It's like, are you using AI? Oh yeah, I'm using AI. Click, checked. I think David was talking about this. Oh, you can comply about something that the government says, oh yeah, I'm using artificial intelligence, perfect. The thing is that artificial intelligence, again, is worthless if you don't have any machine learning mechanisms, if you don't have any experts creating the machine learning language and delivering that to the artificial intelligence to apply repetitive actions, right? So, as I mentioned before, we have more than 100 data science patents. That means that somebody, as an expert, says, Wi-Fi works better this way. Connect to the 5 gig band, not to the 2.0, 2.4 because it has too many interference sources, blah, 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 blah. We create a patent or we create an expert path with that, and then we apply that into the artificial intelligence. So every time the artificial intelligence finds that you are going through the same mistake, it's going to say, hey, wait. You're using that, and that is not recommended according to the experts in the industry. So we have a recommendation for you. That is artificial intelligence again. And then we go beyond. Click here to fix it. Does that sound sexy again or not? Come on, guys. You know, it's incredible. So we weren't there like a couple of years ago. Right now, we are there. So we can give you recommendations. Hey, this is happening in your edge. You're having problems, and that is going to create more problems beyond that. So let's fix it together. So you can be proactive about the problems. And we use artificial intelligence for almost everything. For the AI search, if you want to interact with the platform, you can just click how to configure the Wi-Fi, and it's going to give you the topics to study or all of the pages inside the website to go there and fix and create and modify stuff. So this is a platform that is working for you, right? So these are some of the use cases that we can fix using artificial intelligence. Again, because they are well known, right? Wi-Fi poor coverage, bad ports and cables, performance problems. All of those are known already. So if they are known, you can create the pattern, the expert pattern, and then deliver it into the artificial intelligence, and that's it. So you can increase the amount of time that you're up, that you can increase the amount of bandwidth that you are using, that you can increase the user experience in every one of the verticals, every one of the times. So this is how Aruba Central will look like at some point this year. I'm giving you like la crème of la crème. How do you say it? Like la crème of la crème? Like, this is la pastica de la pastica, del pollo del arroz con pollo. This is it. So we have a version of Aruba Central right now that has so many things in it, but the version that is coming is delivering on not everything that I said, and we have something that is called time travel. Okay, with that, I'm going to drop the mic and I'm going to leave. I love that, the time travel. Let's say that you are at your house, you're the IT manager of ABC Enterprise, and then at some point you say, hey, your guys are calling, the guys in guarding the shift in the NOC center, they are calling you, hey, we have a problem. The users are not connecting in the morning to the network. Oh, my God, the hybrid cloud, which is super, super, mega, ultra nice, is not working. The services cannot be accessed. And you just go there and they say, what happened? Oh, okay, let's listen to Aruba Central, let's do the troubleshooting, let's fix it. Okay, perfect, we did it. Now, what was the origin of it? You use time travel back in time. Oh, at 2 a.m., there was a change in the configuration. Good, Jose, you changed the whole thing and you broke it. So you're guilty, come on. No, just joking, but the whole idea to give you time travel is basically to have that option of going where the origin of the troubleshooting should have been made, or what was the problem, identify it and fix it from the root. Okay? That sounds sexy, right? Yeah. Definitely. And remember, this is a model that is created by the customer, for the customers, with many, many years of innovation, and this can be delivered by our partner, right? We don't have a financial model to deliver at the moment, okay? But there are things that can be done through our partner and distributors in the island, so we can deliver the network as a service, at least as managed service. What it means is that if you have a big refresh to do or any kind of service that you need to deliver as part of your progress or your evolution, your technology refresh, on island, there are certain ways that we can do it without doing the whole thing using CapEx or portion, or you know what, I'm going to buy the whole thing, but I want you to manage it for me. because I want my team to focus on the business per se. So if you have an IT department and you want them to be like working out in new revenue streams for the board of directors, you can do that. And leave all of the operative or operating actions with our partner, right? With everything included, support, priorities, cases, RMA, and deployment, education, and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, this can be consumed as a service through our partners, okay? You can get all of those models and deliver those in a better way, because that is where the world is basically going. So with that said, I want to thank you again for your time, your attention, and this has been Aruba ESP. I have Aruba Central as a demo in there as well. I have the sensors for user experience as a demo as well. Come by our booth and let's talk about anything that we can do in order to help you out. And as I saw you like asking many good questions before, we just prepared 3 bags for the questions at this moment. So if you're just in silent, you're gonna just miss the bags.
Any questions? And I'm not using the bags to bribe you to ask questions. Do we have any questions? Switches, Wi-Fi, connectivity, user experience, Aruba ESP, any questions?
Questions are all. Do you have questions now? I want to go a little bit further. I haven't dropped the mic yet, but I can drop it now. We are providing the network, and we're managing the network, right? That's something that has been done for years. So I do provide the access points, the switches, the SD-WAN, the SASE, blah, blah, blah. You know, the HPE Aruba team is amazing, and we have a huge amount of devices, and everything works flawlessly. But what happens if the same user that in the beginning was complaining about the Wi-Fi not working comes again? And you say, what is happening? I just started a project for refreshing my whole technology and have control of everything, and that guy is at my door again saying that the Wi-Fi is not working. How can I avoid that? Well, we have another solution that is called User Experience Insight. So we are not comfortable by just deploying best-of-the-breed edge devices, management, integration, automation, blah, 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 whatever you name it. We went a little bit further, and we can deploy, we have a solution where we can deploy sensors that are going to act as users connecting to our services to criticize the services. That sounds like as a Skynet or some stuff like that, but the sensor is right there. I have one, and I have the platform. So basically with that is I have Wi-Fi, switching, services, DHCP, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I can have another platform mimicking a synthetic user, like an engineer in a network, checking on the services every 15, 20, 30 minutes to see if the Wi-Fi is working, if the switching is working, if the DHCP service is working, DNS is working, internal applications from Nutanix, from the other vendor, from HPE, from this one, from Dell, from Cisco, whatever. Internal, external applications as Facebook, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. If some of those are not working, I'm gonna alert myself. So when that person is suffering, I will get it to know before them. So I will be proactive with the problem. Oh, the DHCP service is not working, I'm gonna fix it. So the person is not gonna come to me. Okay? How does that sound? And that is sexy. Okay?
I was just
Thank you
about
so
to
much.
say, I was wondering how come we didn't ask, isn't that sexy, guys?
Is that sexy?
No questions? No questions for Jose Luis? You have a question? Okay, let's hear it. Can I get you on the mic, please?
Okay, I just wanted to ask, right, I had a difficulty understanding how exactly are you going to utilize, wrapping my mind around how exactly you're going to use the switch to utilize the other resources on other switches. Is that the Pensando part of it?
The Pensando part of it, it's a software application that is running on the switches. So wherever you have a distributor layer, let's say that you have like a big network with different campus, different fields, different sites. You have switches all over the place, right? So you will use Aruba Central to manage those and to get all of the telemetry of the network. And at that moment, not even using the 10,000 Pensando, you will have actions and telemetry and ways to interact with the switches and get to know what is happening. The 10,000, we use it on the data center specifically as a top-of-the-rack switch, where it will connect many services like servers, storage, NAS, whatever, and it will also integrate via the software part that is called Fabric Composer, so it can report to Nutanix, VMware, HPE, et cetera, right? So once that happens, from their management platform, they will see, let's say, a VMware and the vSphere. All of you, I guess you've seen a vSphere client. You have many things, virtual machines, storage, blah, blah, blah. All the way at the end, you can have another item that is going to be called HPE Aruba Fabric Composer. Once you click on it, you will have the holistic view of all of the switches working in the environment. All of the network cards, virtual or physical, in the network, interacting with the environment. And you can create a new workflow that's going to say, create 2 virtual machines or 10 virtual machines with this amount of power, this amount of storage, this amount of RAM, and with this VLAN and 2 ports per switch, blah, 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 blah. And that is going to integrate with the rest of the piece of software in order to deploy. If you don't have that, you can still do it, but you need to do by hand every one of the actions. Let's go to the vSphere, do this. Let's go to the other vendor, do that. Let's go to Aruba, do this. Let's go and create the VLANs. Is everything working fine? No, it's not working. Let's go all over the whole thing again. So we're trying to deliver the tools for you to do the whole thing in a more automated and orchestrated way. You got it?
And
Yeah, you
should
got it
come
back
and
then.
You should come and collect your back.
Perfect.
You should totally come and collect your back. Oh, we have a question over here.
Yes, question for you in terms of time travel. So the issue has occurred already. Do you have the ability to deploy?
Hold on 1 second, my dear. Hold on 1 second.
Thank you, sir.
We decide to give him his gift. Thank you so very much.
So the time travel.
Yeah.
Do you have the ability to?
To actually implement the change but not apply it to production? So in the event that it's going to break something, you can actually see it beforehand.
Wow.
So it's like you're doing a
That's
predictive
interesting.
failure.
That is interesting. So when something happened, it is in the past already. Mm-hmm. What you mean is going back in time.
No, we're actually predicting the future.
You're going back in time and see what happened and do the change on top of it?
No, what we're actually doing is we're applying the change, but we're not pushing it to production. So we have.
Oh, no, I know what you mean.
Right.
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh, you can do that?
We can do that before
Right.
time travel. The thing is that using artificial intelligence, we got far enough in order to see, hey, I'm going to apply this change. Mm-hmm. What is the impact that this change is going to take on the whole environment?
Exactly.
Right? We can do that for the Wi-Fi, we can do that for the switching, we can do that for many, many environments in the edge. The thing is that we can create the recommendations and the insights based on the specific change that you want to do. But we can also give you recommendations based on the insights that we are collecting from the network. Let's say that the network is working, everybody's happy, everything is okay. You still will have insights about the current status. So the platforms are going to say, you know what? You're having a lot of, let's say, dual band devices, like iPhones 12, 13, 21, I don't know where we're going to reach with that. The iPhone 14 is dual band. It can connect to the 2.4 and to the 5 gig, right? Even that, it is connecting to the 2.4, which is not optimal. The 2.4 band is a band that is really stretched. It has only 3 non-overlapping channels, 1, 6, and 11. That's it. There are a lot of sources for interference, microwaves, WiMAX, whatever. And instead of that, as the device dual band and the access point is dual band, we recommend you to do this change, clicking here, so the device is going to be steered up to the 5 gig.
Okay.
And at that moment, it's going to be connecting to a band that is wider, so many non-overlapping channels, and the amount of sources for interference is going to be way, way, way less, right? So we can predict, and we can also recommend.
All right.
That's
Thank
another
you
bag for him.
Thank
That
you
was a
so
good
very
one.
much. We have a bag. I'm going to allow you to do that.
It took me a while. Yeah.
No, that was a great, great question. In fact, when I'm finished with this conference, I'm going to go and tweet out that I learned about time travel and that the IT guys here in Jamaica can
Skynet.
totally do it. We can totally do
Thank
it
you,
here.
man.
Thank you so very much for
Thank
your
you so much.
participation. Jose Luis, thank you for accepting
so
the
much.
questions. I appreciate it.